It is Monday night, and we are once again in the madhouse. Tonight, we're going to do something a little different, something I've never done before. But before I even get to that, I just want to let you guys know that a lot of people ask me about the intro on the show, and I want to just let you know that is the Vanilla Fudge doing some Zeppelin, little rock and roll by Zeppelin, and I'd like to thank the Vanilla Fudge personally, good friends of ours, and for allowing me to use that intro. And that actually was at Jimi Hendrix's 70th birthday party backstage at B.B. King, so that was where that clip came from. So for all of you who've been asking, that's the answer to that question. So here we are, live with the Maverick Soul. I am Tommy Marr, and I'll tell you, we got something special tonight. But before I even get started, I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on. And I'd like to start with, first of all, I'd like to thank a load of people for all of the good wishes, the cards, the letters, the private messages on Facebook. I don't know how the word went out. I don't know, but I thank you all very, very much for being concerned. I'm okay. I'm getting better. It's going to be okay. But, you know, it'll be what it is until it's okay. So thank you so much. And Sally, the envelope was beautiful. Thank you very much. I also have to thank last week's guest. And you guys that tuned in and watched that show, I'll tell you, we're all still like bewildered by how good that band was. The Robert Hill Band. They're a blues band, and actually Robert is being inducted on May 4th into the New York and New Jersey Blues Hall of Fame. And last week they were in here live. They played live. I'll tell you, it was the interview was amazing. I don't know if you guys saw the interview. If you didn't, go back and watch that show because it was, I mean, this guy came from Dogtown, Arkansas, and he had some stories that were just amazing. And do yourself a favor. If you want to hear the one of the best ones you'll ever hear about somebody banging on a window in a pickup truck, check that show out. But I would love, and I can't thank you guys, Robert Hill, Joanne Lediger, and Mark Murphy from the Robert Hill Blues Band. Incredible. Thank you so much for blessing us in this studio with your talents. You guys are amazing. And pick up their CD. Incredible. One of the greatest slide guitar players you'll ever see. Trust me on that one. And again, Michael Packer, thank you. I also want to thank, well, first of all, I want to talk about what we're going to do tonight. As you can see, we have a little different, can we, Janine, it's just Janine and I in the studio tonight, so it's a little different. I actually wanted to turn all the lights out, have a little candle light, the fireplace going, you know, very comfortable because I want everybody to be really, really comfortable tonight because this is going to be something, it's not just your average show. It's something I think anyone that cares about people or admires people for being good should really watch this interview. And it's amazing. But before I even get to that, I would like to thank a couple people. And I would like to thank, first of all, Shelley Cohen, who jumped in at the last second, who is not a cameraman. And he jumped in and bailed me out and came over to the Bolton Center with me and filmed this interview for me. And Shelley, thank you very much. I know and you know, guys, when you're watching this, understand something. There was a lot of stuff going on behind us, so you'll see me turning. Things were banging, toilets were flushing, people were coming in and they were mobbing around the back of us. You know, so it was a little stressy, but Shelley, thank you very much. You did a great job. I have to thank Rich Balter for coming down and taking the photos of us doing the interview. Rich, you know how I feel about your work. I mean, you are an amazing person and you're an amazing photographer. And thank you so much for coming down and giving me your time, you know, to do that for us because it was wonderful. And Jen, thank you for coming along too. But ladies and gentlemen, what I want to say is, you know, we went over and we did a backstage interview exclusive with Mr. Kim Simmonds. the founder of Savoy Brown, a band that was created in 1965 and is still hot and going unbelievably strong right now with the new CD coming out. I believe it is out. But I really, really, really want you guys to just be comfortable tonight. So I'm going to go to a quick commercial. I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk a little bit about the interview, and then we're going to get into it. But right now, I want you all to get very, very comfortable. See, remember the old, what was that, Masterpiece Theater or something? Here you go. So hang in there. You got the Maverick Soul here. I am Tommy Marr. We'll be right back from the Madhouse right after these words.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
We are back in the Madhouse. I am Tommy Marr. This is the Maverick Soul Hour. And I do want to say a couple more little things before we get into this. But first of all, I want to thank my right arm. For anybody that knows, I couldn't really exist without my right arm. And that's my girl in there, Miss Janine Zarilli, who, I tell you, you talk about somebody having your back. She is my backbone. She's my everything, and I couldn't do anything without her. She puts so much work in that none of you guys really get to see, but she spends hours and hours and hours a week working on this show and all the other shows also. And by the way, please feel free to tune in to all the other shows. We have them Monday through Saturday. Check them out. There are some really great shows, some great, great talents. We have spirituality, we have music, we have awareness programs. We have a little bit of everything, you know. So check out the shows during the week. It's usually two a night, and Saturdays all day from 9 in the morning up until 8:30 at night. So we are busy in the madhouse. But again, I want to thank my girl over there, Janine, because without her, I wouldn't be sitting here, that's for sure. So with that, tonight we're going to do something different. This is an interview that I had done a couple weeks ago, but I really, really, really want you guys to get as comfortable as you possibly can. And when you watch this interview, I mean, I've met a lot of musicians. I've met a lot of famous band members. I've met a lot of people in my life. And I got to tell you something. This guy, Kim Simmonds, is one of my heroes as far as being a man. I've seen many, many, many people, but I never really, well, I shouldn't say never. I'll never say never. But I could count on one hand how many people are as loyal to his heart and soul as this man is to him. And I think the interview will be self-explanatory, but I really, really want you to listen, and I want you to know something. He was his microphone was down very low, so I'm going to be probably a little loud. He's going to be very low. So we're going to try to adjust. It's going to be very difficult, but he had the microphone down here, but I want you to listen to everything this man says. And any young band members or anybody thinking about getting into the music business, this is lesson number one. This is how you do it. This is the way you do it. I take my hat off to this man. I have the greatest respect in the world for this man. And when we get done with this interview and I come back, you'll know why. So ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, I'd like to go to our interview with the one and only Kim Simmonds from Savoy Brown.
All right, this is Tommy Marr and Maverick Soul, and I am here live in the Bolton Center in Bayshore, Long Island for Madhouse TV, and I have an icon here that I have so much respect for. It's such a thrill for me to be here sitting with this gentleman and talking with him in person. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mr. Kim Simmonds from Savoy Brown. And so Kim,
thank you so much.
It's such a privilege to have you here. I can't tell you how iconic you have been throughout my life, and actually, I've admired many things about you. But I think number one, I admire you as a human being before I admire you for anything else, and that's the truth. But before we go there, let's go back to the beginning a little bit. I mean, you started this band in '65, right? Now, everyone knows that there's been many different players. And what I do want to talk about is how the respect I do have for this man, that how he stayed true to himself and his soul and his heart, and he stuck with what he believed in. Because to me, I've never met you personally, but to me, you seem like a very simple man that doesn't need a lot of attention, and you're very happy with yourself, within yourself.
I am, and you know, now it's going to be difficult to talk about myself, you know, but I have, you know, tried to, you try to find yourself in life,
Yeah.
and I think playing the guitar for me and playing with the band has been a journey, you know, to discover about yourself and try to find some meaning in your life. Because obviously playing in a band can be very, what's the word here? Very frivolous. It can be very frivolous, you know, being in a band. And therefore your sort of life becomes pretty frivolous. So I've figured out that anything you do in life, whether it's playing in a band, whether it's digging a ditch, you know, it's how you do it and what you bring to it that makes it important and makes your life important. Your life is only important as you make it. And so, you know, playing with Savoy Brown and being a musician, playing the guitar, I try to use it as a way of, you know, finding myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's part of it. And then, of course, the people that you live with, the people that you associate with.
Right.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multi-discipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
Being a fireman is more than just putting out blazes and giving kittens CPR. Sometimes my duty demands I fan the flames, like when a call comes in from a lady who needs immediate assistance.
Maybe she needs help with that computer thing. Maybe she wants to go antique. Could be as simple as understanding that walking in heels it's hard. Ou aussi simple que l'été dernier à Paris. C'est sympa. Maybe it's ladies' night in, and she wants a simple, delicious recipe for margaritas with a twist. First, a can of limeade. Now hold on to this, you'll be using it. Side note, kittens make everything better. Next, add water. Now, a bottle of light beer. No, shh. Trust me, I'm a professional. And last, and most important, Sauza Blue Tequila. Now, mix it up. Ole. Yes, that's what I'm trained for. Whether it's to help her choose leggings or pants, telling her leggings are pants, or discussing leggings and jeggings versus pant pegging at her next ladies' night in, I'll come to the rescue. Don't call me a hero. Just call me. Let me know what time.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need
and talking with him in person. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mr. Kim Simmonds from Savoy Brown. And so, Kim,
Thank you so much.
it's such a privilege to have you here. I can't tell you how iconic you have been throughout my life. And actually, I've admired many, many things about you, but I think number one, I admire you as a human being before I admire you for anything else, and that's the truth. But before we go there, let's go back to the beginning a little bit. I mean, you started this band in '65, right?
Right.
Now, everyone knows that there's been many, 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 many different players, and what I do want to talk about is how the respect I do have for this man. That how he stayed true to himself and his soul and his heart, and he stuck with what he believed in. Because I've never met you personally, but to me, you seem like a very simple man that doesn't need a lot of attention, and you're very happy with yourself, within yourself.
I am, and you know. Now it's going to be difficult to talk about myself, you know, but I have, you know, tried to. You try to find yourself in life,
Yeah.
And I think playing the guitar for me and playing with the band has been a journey, you know, to discover about yourself and try to find some meaning in your life, because obviously playing in a band can be very what's the word here? Very frivolous. It could be very frivolous, you know, playing in a band, and therefore your sort of life becomes pretty frivolous. So I've figured out that anything you do in life, whether it's playing in a band, whether it's digging a ditch, you know, it's how you do it and what you bring to it that makes it important and makes your life important. Your life is only important as you make it, and so. You know, playing with Savoy Brown and being a musician, playing the guitar, I try to use it as a way of, you know, finding myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's part of it, and then of course the people that you live with, the people that you associate with,
Right.
You know, your philosophy, your religion, all these kind of things play a part in your life, and. You know, that's been my major quest, I think. Mm-hmm. Along the way, it so happens I've done 50 years, you know, in the music biz with Savoy Brown. So, but I think, you know, like everything else, at the end of the line, have you found out more about yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone I feel is on a journey and taking a path, and everyone makes a right sometimes that's not right, or a left that's not right, but we all find our path.
I've got a lot of those left and right.
Well, I'm sure we all have. I'm still in a million bands. I sing. I play in a lot of bands, and I know the testing of bands. So, but let's go back to '65. Excuse me. Now you got this. This was you are still the original person who put this band together.
Sure.
So to me, I feel it's a part of your soul. Mm-hmm. It's something that you cherish with all your heart, and we'll go back to that. But now you also you're from Battersea, South West London.
Where's South London? South London. Oh, Southwest London, maybe. Isn't it? Perhaps.
Well, that's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
Yeah.
But so now tell me, how old were you when you started? How did you get started? And then we'll just move along, because I don't want to really.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I was born in. I was born in Wales, and I had an elder brother that was into all the popular music. So the early.
Is that Harry?
That was Harry.
And he was also your manager, right?
And he was my manager later on. I asked him
Right.
to manage the band, you know, when I got the band going. But when I was a kid, you know, I'd hear all the songs. I think the very first song I remember listening to was Cry by Johnny Ray, you know. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say that actually that was the beginning of rock and roll. Very soon after that, Bill Haley came along, you know. And so I was sort of, as a young kid, you know, I was listening to all this stuff. By the time I was a young teenager, a little bit before, the family moved to London. And eventually we were in South London. in the sort of Battersea area. And that would have been about, 61, 62. So it was the right place, right time. The Rolling Stones were starting, the Beatles were starting. And I would get to see a lot of these bands when they were starting, when I was a 14-year-old kid. Everybody from that era is about, 4, 5 years older than me. And so as a young kid, I would go and see, obviously by the 63, the Yardbirds, things like that. I was into blues, from my brother's blues record collection. So I was listening to music, imagining that I could possibly play guitar, and then I would go out and see bands playing rhythm and blues, it was called then, and get inspired. So by the time I was 15, 16, I was, I had a dream in my head that I wanted to play. So, then in 65 I started Savoy Brown, so I must have been 17, 18 by then.
Right, right. Now, I don't know, I guess I'm sure you've heard this, but I mean, from what I have read about you and things I've been told about you, is you were actually probably the most influential person in bringing the blues back to America.
Well, I think that I was...
Kickstarting it back.
Well, I mean, obviously there was a lot of people around. There was, like I say, prior to me coming on the scene, there was the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much bigger than that. There was the Yardbirds, the Animals. They all, these are all groundbreaking acts, of course. I think when I came along with Savoy Brown, we really managed to get a very authentic Chicago blues sound. Mm-hmm. That was my, the way I went about things was, so by the time 67 came around, there was a blues boom in
my favorite year in life, by the way.
And that blues boom was called the blues boom. Hitherto all the acts were called rhythm and blues acts. And so I think Savoy Brown had a very authentic sound. And I think that's why we were more popular in America, because it was very authentic. And we got criticized for being too authentic. People said, we were putting on a front or something, which we weren't. We were just, that's just the way the music came out.
Well, actually, the first album was actually a bunch of blues covers too, right?
The first album was a lot of blues covers, which, at the time, it was fresh material.
Right,
A lot of those songs.
Well, I think that's what I'm talking about, where the influence came in. Rediscovered.
It was. I found a set list from like 65, 66 that I had typed out, and it fell out of an old blues album I had, and it was interesting seeing the set list. It was a lot of Muddy Waters songs. Mm-hmm. Got My Mojo Working and things, because that's what Muddy was doing in Chicago.
Right.
The idea was to put a British band together that was like a Chicago blues band, like a Muddy Waters band for the UK.
And now, when you did come to America, would you say that Detroit played a very, very, very big part in Savoy Brown?
Absolutely. We came over, and suddenly we clicked in Detroit. We were huge, and I think in '69, to the tail end of that decade, we probably became one of the most popular bands in the city.
Yeah.
And once you get to that, once you realize that you are that popular, we play there 4 times a year, and things start.
That's good management.
Yeah, exactly. And things started spreading out from there. But Detroit, and it's to this day, some of those people that were at those early shows in the '60s still come to the shows. I still go to the shows, and we all kind of celebrate that we're still around, and we all remember those days. The music brings back memories for us all, and it's still a good feeling.
Well, I don't know. Are you guys going to be playing in July in Detroit at the Blues Fest?
So usually we play a place called the Magic Bag, which is a really nice theater in Detroit. So that's our usual home right now.
Home away from home.
And the festivals are icing on the cake in our calendar.
Right.
But usually we have a group of shows that we go to annually, where we get to know the people, we know the owners of the venues, and it's a very, very comfortable situation when. And I've done that for many years now. It's important to me to have relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
Which might seem odd to someone like myself that's had hundreds of plays in his band, but really, I'm a relationship type of guy, and I like to keep continuity going, actually,
Yeah.
And so often as not, we would tour and go to many venues annually that we were previous year, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Doing it that way, yeah, because it's almost like you're meeting your family every night, because you know the people that run
Right.
the place, you know the sound people, you know the owners.
Comfort.
It's great. It's a great thing, and it's a nice way to do things. Yeah.
So now how many shows do you have at this gig going? Is this just the one show?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the one show. All we do now is one-nighters.
Right.
Back in the old days, when we first came to the country in the later 60s, you would do 3 or 4 nights
Right.
at the Fillmore East, Fillmore West, or what have you.
I was there.
Yeah, and Detroit, you'd play a couple of nights at one venue, and that was always great, because you
Weren't they the best places? Oh my
yeah,
God! I
Fillmore-
never was at the Fillmore West, but I certainly spent enough time at the Fillmore
Fillmore
East.
East was fantastic.
Unbelievable.
And
For
us-
$3, $3.50, I think.
Exactly.
Oh my God, the cards that you would see in there was amazing. It's just amazing. What still drives you to still want to go out?
I think that word, there's a drive inside me that I can't explain. I've got a lot of nervous energy. Of course, you wouldn't see it right now, because I'm very good at concealing it. I'd probably come across like, this guy is relaxed,
Yeah, you look pretty cool.
But, that really inside, I'm absolutely, I've got a ton of nervous energy. And that nervous energy translates to drive. I think I've got it in spades. And I think that's helped me right from the beginning. People tell me when I was a kid, I had this certain drive. And I think that keeps me going now. It certainly over 50 years, there'll be many times when, in any career, that of course I should have packed it in. I was in no place where I should have carried on. But something like a marriage or like any relationship, you get to those, and it wasn't just one time, and many times,
Right.
But something drives you forward, and before you know it, you end up looking over your shoulder, and you've reached a milestone, whether it's in your life, in your career. And I think it's a surprise to me to be here now. It's a great feeling of
Right.
accomplishment, because I meet a lot of younger people. They're starting off, they're 1 or 2 years, playing guitar in the music business, and it's inconceivable, to be going this length of time. You do have to have a special drive that makes you go and get it.
Right.
If I had sat down in this chair and let it come to me, I'd be working in the gas station.
Right.
What happens is that you are going out, and that was right from the very beginning. I am going, and I'm going to get what it and do what it needs. Whatever needs to be done, I am going to go and do it. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do it. I'm not going to
Wow.
sit here and wait for it to come to me. If it needs to be done, I am going to do it.
Well,
And I think that kind of thing, if I try to analyze myself, because people are asking me this question all the time. I think that's probably what is, and that would be my advice to everybody else.
and it's still fun.
Don't wait. Of course it's fun. Well, it's, of course it's fun. Playing guitar is, the most fun things in life are the hardest
Right,
things,
right.
to work at, And being on stage playing guitar, having an audience respond to you, expressing your feelings, knowing that you're communicating with people. It's a fantastic feeling. But that's a gift. That's not given to you.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
if it is given to you when you're a 17-year-old, it'll be taken away in a hurry. So you've got to really, any gifts we've got, and I do think that, we are given gifts, you've got to work hard to retain them. And so the bottom line is, and the reason I'm talking like this is maybe to inspire somebody, to say, this is what you have to do. Go out and get it.
I agree with you 100%, and now that's going to bring me into my next stage of questions on you, which might might not make you too comfortable, but one of the major things that I have with you is the utmost respect for how you've conducted yourself, how you've handled yourself, and how you've dealt with all the years in the business, knowing and seeing the changes that were made, but how you stuck to your love of this band and never, ever, ever wavered from it. And I know that you've been offered many, many, many deals and a lot of money to do a lot of different projects. I know that, but you've never wavered, and you've always stayed with what you love and what you believe in, your heart. This is your soul and your heart, right? And see, not many people do that. And I think you're a very, very rare person, and I think it should be really told to the people out there that there are people that exist like this, because there's not many of yous around. I mean, there truly isn't. I mean, I can't tell you how much, because I mean, I know a lot of bands, and I've had 1 million people on my show, and I've known people through the years, and I know a lot of people in the music business. And I'm not saying, maybe for financial reasons they might have to do what they have to do or something, but I can't really name a whole lot that have done what you've done out of just doing the right thing for yourself, for what's good for you inside, which I think is such a lesson for everybody out there to take, because a lot of people, it's just about money, it's about fame, it's about this. I don't feel that from you. I'm certainly, and I know, we can prove that by what you've done. We all know all the different members, the turnarounds in the band, but you always stuck to your guns and you stayed with your baby.
Right.
This is your baby. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for you for that. And the message that you hopefully do get to send to some of these people out there, because,
I think that I'm going to stop you because I hope I'm that person. I don't know. You live your life, and you're not taking notes. You're not. It is. You stand for something, I suppose. I did take control of my life. At a certain point. When you start and you're a young musician. You have managers, you have agents, you have handlers, you have an accountant, you have record companies, and everybody tells you what to do. And you do what people tell you what to do.
Right.
And then I've been lucky in that there came a point where I was able to, take control of my life. And at that point, it was, I decided then, that I would do the right thing, Like I said earlier on, really, you try to use what you do to grow as a person. Mm-hmm. And so very quickly I realized that, and I've made lots of mistakes, don't get me wrong, I'm not certainly not a saint or anything, but it's, you realize that you can't do backdoor deals on people.
Right.
You have to, how business should be done, so you conduct yourself as best as possible like that. It's difficult to talk about myself. Like you say, if that's the impression you're getting, and if that's the impression that people get from watching me from the outside, watching my career, watching the way I am, it's a fantastic compliment. I have tried very hard, not to chase the carrot, what I call. People in this business, people dangle carrots in front of you every day.
Right.
And I've had the ability, again, it's a gift, to be able to be discerning and decide for myself. I've turned, yeah, sure. So if the way I've conducted my life, certainly in the second part of my life when I've had control, if that has, if that shows through the way I am, if that shows through the music, then it's fantastic. But it's. It's like, how can you talk about yourself?
You don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to, because it's there. Because if you look at all the other bands, and there's a few. The Stones are still together. Mm-hmm. But how many are still on the same path?
I think it's a scary thing for me, because I was in denial about when I started the band. I was in denial about how long I've done this. And then it really, just the last couple of months, it hit me that it's, there's no denying it. I started in 65, and next year it'll be 50 years. And that is starting to have a big effect on me. All of a sudden I'm starting to think, yikes, I've reached this landmark. I have done something. I have stood for something. And so it is starting, and occasionally I do blow my own horn. I'm trying to...
You're entitled.
Perhaps I am, but it's not something I like to do.
Right.
I've loved being under the radar
Right.
for a long time.
Well, I think that's obvious too by people. I mean, I followed you, and I mean,
because
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's fun being under the radar because you're not tempted to compromise.
Right. Right.
The more profile you have, the more people are around you, the more success you have. There's a terrible thing to compromise.
Well,
because there's what I'm saying, there's so much people around you. But if you can just, the reason I've kept under the radar is because it's meant that I didn't have to compromise. You can't have life two ways. You can't have all the profile,
right,
and then expect to be the kind of person I have. The kind of life I've been able to live is because I've let a lot of other stuff go. And a lot of people can't let the other stuff go.
But I gotta believe, and I don't know, I might be totally wrong, but I gotta believe that you had some really good parents that taught you some great morals.
Well, I think my dad did teach me a lot of things. He really stuck by his word. It was rather amazing how there's a couple of incidents that I won't go into now because they're personal things, but family things.
Right.
But they did. It was astonishing. All it takes is one or two incidents, right, in your life with your parents. As a kid, you blow it up to be massive. My dad used to spank me. Well, he might have spanked you once. You know what I mean? But,
They ought to go back to spanking. I got news for you.
But that once is all it takes as a parent. So I remember one particular incident where my dad astounded everybody around him by sticking to his word. And I think just that one incident was all you need to realize that a man's got to stick by his word.
I agree. There are pivotal moments in everyone's life. Some choose not to look at them. I actually do. I mean, my dad was a great influence to me. We didn't have any money, but I was the richest kid around. Four kids, and we lived on top of an antique store. We had one bedroom in there, 6 people. I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything because I had love in my family. And, I don't want to get into that too heavily, but you had to have that also, and you had to, somewhere along, you were put on a good path from the get-go. Yeah. Because, some people do have an awakening later in life, but I don't know, it seems you've been pretty consistent through your life.
Well, yeah, and also I've had a very strong conscience through my life.
Well,
and it took me a long time to realize what that conscience was and how to follow it. Because, when you're a youngster, you've got this conscience, but you've got all the other guys around you.
Right.
Hey, you've got to be macho, you've got to fit, as a teenager, you've got the peer pressure, plus you're a musician, So, you've got this conscience going on, and you're saying to yourself, well, how can I follow my conscience? Because Joe says we should go and rob this convenience store. I never robbed a convenience store, but you know the point. So, but all the time your conscience is working on you. And to tell the truth, everything you've probably said is, in the end, I followed my conscience. Mm-hmm. And it was always there, it was always working on me, and in the end, I followed my conscience, and I still try to follow it.
Well, it's funny you say that because, I mean, the world has changed from when we were young.
Right.
I mean, it was a different place. People had, behaved a lot differently. I call it the world of me now. Though, as let me stand still while the planets revolve around me. Like I don't wait on lines. I talk on cell phones. I'm rude. I curse in front of your kids. Whatever. I mean, I have 6 grandsons. They all live with me, and wow. I am in a constant thing with just everything you just said. How how you will someday have to live with your decisions in life, and it's very hard now. It's even harder than when we were kids because I think when we grew up, Dad was the working guy and Mom was home, and that was a big difference too. That you had that, and you know, you saw that and you learned from that, and, you know, this is the right thing to do. You know, you get out and give them a break, you know, and move on and do the right things in life and have a conscience. I think the word conscience is, I think morals and conscience are almost the same word, you know, because if it's bothering you, your morals are telling you did something wrong. You know, your conscience is bothering you. So I know where you're coming from, and I definitely felt that from you. You know, everything I've ever learned about you, I've always felt that about you. I've always felt that. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for you because, again, I've met so many musicians that are not like this.
Thank you.
And it's such a treat for me to sit here with you because you're one in a million. You really, truly are. And you might not like to hear it, but that's the truth.
Well, it's fantastic getting compliments, but of course, you know, it's, you know, you go on living your own, you're living your life the best you can.
Look,
you know.
to me, just facially and expressively, you look very content within yourself. And I also know now, you also have a great desire for painting, the arts.
Right, yeah.
I mean, does that give you... I mean, I used to draw, I used to do charcoal drawings, I used to do it, you know, for a living. I had a leather shop, so I did a lot of artwork. But it annoyed me because I couldn't deal with the people when you probably do it for the love of doing it.
Right.
I was doing it for money at the time because I was a young guy with little kids. So is it just a passion that you just get lost in and go up in your studio and just...
Well, I think that... I was talking about that energy earlier on. I've got a lot of energy, and I've got it. Most of my life, I've applied it to the arts. You know, playing guitar, and I always loved reading. Very good. You know, that was always English and writing was very strong when I was at school. I used to. You know, I think I always had a penchant for being an artist. You know, I didn't realize that. You know?
Right.
Picking up guitar, I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be an artist. Right? I didn't even know what the heck was going on. You just do what you do. But the older you get, you suddenly, you know, and it keeps going on. Because I used to say, you know, in 2 years' time, I'm going to not be doing this. You know, everybody used to say that back in the old days. You didn't expect this to carry on.
Time goes quickly.
And before you know, those 2 years add up, and now you've been a musician all your life. And you try to make sense of it, and you realize you were always meant to be an artist.
Right.
You look back and you say, oh, that's right, I was really very good at English. Oh, that's right, I was really good in art class. And so what happened with me, very practically, the older you become, your career starts to slow down. You're not a 23-year-old, 24-year-old. You're not on the charts. You're not, you've got this career that's, you know, starting off in that. You become an older statesman, your career slows down, you've still got that artistic drive.
Right.
So now what I do is I found ways to apply that drive to different areas, and I started painting about 15 years ago. It was, you know, okay, well, I've got more time at home now.
Right.
So I found other avenues to let that drive come out, you know, because you know what happens with artistic drive or any kind of drive in life. If you don't control it, it can become negative.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
sure.
You know, you can go and rob that convenience store. You know, so you know you've got the drive, but you've got to harness it, and all that nervous energy, you've got to harness it. With me, I've been lucky enough to be able to harness it in a very positive way, which is in art. So I still play music, still play the guitar. At home, if I've got more time, I paint, and I like to write as well.
Now, does your painting cross over into your music and your writing?
I think it does. I think.
I mean, do you just, as your painting, start
Well,
coming up with lyrics
I
because you're at peace?
I think it. You're keeping that side of your brain. Is it the
Right.
left or the right side of the brain, whichever the artistic side is? You know, you're just keeping that warmed up and in
Right.
tune. So you don't have to be playing guitar all the time or writing songs or playing with the band. You know, you can be painting. You can be doing other artistic pursuits, and it inspires you because you're using that part of your brain. You're using, you know, to that creative side of you.
Right.
And then it spills over because now you're being creative in art. I read a lot of art books. I study it, you know, and then it slips over into the music, and it helps the music.
And it
as
actually
well.
probably cleanses your mind too. I mean, I know, like when I paint, like everything, it's like take a tranquilizer. You kind of go into a peaceful
I try
place.
to use it. Yeah, I try to use it as a pleasure thing. I'm going to get away from this music thing for a while.
Right. It's an escape. But it also puts you into a different place, a different mindset, where maybe you go, hey, man, I can get something out of this one, too. It's not right.
And don't forget, music's an escape as well.
Sure,
It's
absolutely,
fantastic,
absolutely.
Doing
probably the biggest escape for everyone in the world.
It's amazing when you it's very lucky to have an artistic pursuit that you can actually make a living from and become a career, because it's like, for me, when I do a show, it's like getting an adrenaline shot. It's remarkable how alive you can become. I think even, and I think if it's not your career, I think especially the older you get, my advice is for everybody to get a real passionate hobby, because that really kind of, gives you something to live for, lifts you up, pushes you along. And so I think that another thing I realized, the older you get, you have to have a lot of positive passions to make up for the youthful stuff.
I agree.
In the end goes.
I agree.
When you're young, you'll go and, hey, I want to go and ski down this mountain. But you come to my age, you ain't going to be skiing down a mountain. But you've still got that. You've still got to replace that.
Right.
That desire with a passion.
Right.
So you always need to have passions in your life.
Yeah. See, I did it the opposite. I was an athlete up in most of my life, and then I got into the music. So because I did realize hey, the legs, they do go. I played till I was like 44 years old, but and then I got into the music. But I've always been into music, always. And like I said, I'm a great follower of you, and so I do want to talk a little bit about your new album.
Good.
So tell me some feelings from this. And where people can get it.
Well, it's called Going to the Delta. It's on Roof Records. It's a more traditional based album, based around traditional Chicago blues, which is where I started from.
Right.
Savoy Brown was in '65 was to be a equivalent of the Muddy Waters Blues Band in London, and so for me it was a question of going back. I called it Going to the Delta, so it's kind of going back to the roots. It is a collection of 12 songs. I was very, very deliberate about keeping the focus on that Chicago blues style. Often as not in recent years, I've allowed myself to be eclectic, But with this album, I kept the brakes on, and I said, no, I won't allow myself to go outside of this particular genre that I felt is where I wanted to be right now. I got Pat DeSalvo, Garnet Grimm, the rhythm section, are fantastic blues players. So, it was obvious I would be getting the best out of the band.
Right.
And I felt at this time and place I would get the best out of me. I've been singing better than ever. I'm a blues singer, I'm not a pop singer or a crooner.
Right.
And so really, it was a question of, let's get the best out of myself, best out of the band, and make an album actually that I would like to hear right now,
And speaking of that, I got just a couple last questions for you. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer me. And I don't want to say your favorite, but what band have you admired outside of Savoy Brown the most in your life? Admired.
A band. I'd have to say the Rolling Stones.
I knew you were going to say that.
I knew you were going to say that. The Rolling Stones are a band I started
because they're still together, too.
They're still together. They, I bought their very first single in London, Come On. Was it Come On, the first single? And I used to see them when they started. They were playing the music I loved.
Right.
And lo and behold, about 2 days ago, I turned the TV on, and I watched their Hyde Park concert. And so I'd have to say for a band, the Rolling Stones. But then if you asked me for individual artists, the list goes on and on and on.
That's why. And I don't say your favorite, I say who you admired. And
Yeah.
now, what about the most admired album outside of Savoy Brown? That you have probably played more than any other album.
Oh, man. I'm glad you can edit this, because I've got to think of that one. It's probably one that I admire the most. You know, I think, I think if it all came down to it, I had one album, or somebody said, you're dying tomorrow, God forbid, what do you want to hear right now? It would be Freddie King Sings, it's called. And that was a pivotal album in my life. I played it countless times. Freddie King, of course, was a fantastic blues singer, fantastic blues guitar player, wrote songs as well. And I think he had the kind of rock and roll energy that inspired me to do the same thing.
Very cool, very cool. And I'm going to ask you one last question. And I will use the word favorite. Do you have a favorite highlight of your career, of a show?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. The highlight of my career, which was 40 years ago.
Other than tonight.
No, it was like 40 years ago, so I'm really living in the past here. Was standing on stage at the Fillmore East. When that spotlight would hit me for my solos, it felt, I felt that everybody in the audience understood every note I was playing.
They did.
And I've met so many of them since, and they did. And
that was such a great place.
It was, you're caught in that spotlight, right place, right time, right year.
Right.
And so I'll never forget it.
I love that. I'm very glad that that's what your answer was. That was very good, because that was a big part of my me growing up at the Fillmore East too. The whole village scene. I actually got to sit down with Hendrix for 4 hours one night at the Generation, which later became Electric Ladyland, and I got around. But I'm glad you that, because that is that's when my thoughts go back. And it was such a great place. I can't possibly thank you enough. Again, I just want everyone to know that this is the guy that all you young rockers and anybody in the music, and not even in music, it's in life, should take something from this man's life. And because I think you've done it the right way. I think I'm very, very impressed with the way you've handled your life and how you conduct yourself, and the vibe you send out to other people is quite good and quite rare. I really do, and I can't thank you enough. And I hope you kick some real serious ass tonight and on the stage here with the boys. And wish you nothing but continued health and love and luck and all the best to you. And I can't possibly thank you enough. It's been an extreme pleasure for me.
Great.
Believe me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
You got it right here with the Maverick Soul, Tommy Marr, Madhouse TV, with the man himself, Mr. Kim Simmonds, Savoy Brown. So we're going to let him hit the stage so he can get dressed, and thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Catch you on the rebound. Well, you think about that. Is that a gentleman of gentlemen or what? Like I said, I can't tell you how much respect I have for that gentleman. If just everybody could be like him, it would be a wonderful, wonderful world. And I do want to say that after that interview, I got to sit in an empty auditorium and watch his sound check. And let me tell you something, this guy is amazing. He will blow you away. Pick up the CD. Pick up all of his CDs. It doesn't matter when. And they're just incredible. And his new band is amazing. And again, I just can't say what a treat that was for me, and how much hope it gave to me that there are still some really, really good people out there. And that's about it. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. You don't really get to see interviews like that only here in the Madhouse or in the Maverick Soul Hour. So I do want to send out a very, very special thanks to a very, very special man. I would like to thank with all my heart and soul Mr. Arnie Goodman. Arnie, you're the best, man. That's all I got to say. You are the best. I can't thank you enough. You rock. You rock. So with that, I think we're going to throw up a couple pictures. I hope you enjoyed the evening. I know I sure did. I apologize for anything that happened in the beginning of that. I don't even know what happened really, but I know one thing. Janine and I were running around this place like monkeys, like crazy people, trying to get this thing back on the air. So we did figure out a way to do it. MacGyver. But we did get it. And Janine, thank you so much. And audience, thank you so much. Have a blessed week. And I'll see you next Monday night right here in the Madhouse with the Maverick Soul. Have a great week.
You know the night time is the right time to be with the one you love.